You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason.
Your co-host, Danny.
Fans, we got a full show for you today. First, we'll get right into the NBA playoffs, and we have an interesting trading card scenario for you. But first to the NBA, where, man, the Boston Celtics took this L, and I can't even say they took it like a champ. Absolutely terrible. Danny, the Miami Heat beat the brakes off of the Boston Celtics, where they win by 26 points. And right now, the Miami Heat are on the verge of advancing into the NBA Finals, and where right now it is 3-0 in favor of the Miami Heat. Did not see this coming at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the playoffs. I did not see this coming from the Miami Heat. And let me just say, I turned this game off. Started watching it, and I just saw the body language of the Boston Celtics and where they just kept woofing at the referees, irregardless of if you're not getting calls or if you're getting calls, whatever the case may be, you need to run back on defense at least, and maybe talk to the referees after a play or during a break, because you're down 2-0. You're down 0-2. And so you got to really be on your mind. We got to go ahead and play every single possession because we don't know how many points we're going to win by. That's the mindset. Every point counts. Every possession counts. That just is not, it didn't happen for the Boston Celtics. And right now, we're looking at a Denver Nuggets, Miami Heat finals. I already know who I'm picking for that finals, Danny. But first, let's just talk about these Boston Celtics. And I have to say this too, Danny. The mindset of the Boston Celtics is very familiar. It was very familiar to me that it really felt like the Milwaukee Bucks. Even though the Bucks went ahead and fought a little bit harder, it seemed like the mindset seemed to be kind of the same. We're a superior team. We're supposed to be winning, but yet here's the Miami Heat, and they're coming. They just keep coming. And so I think with the Milwaukee Bucks search, and there are reports that the Milwaukee Bucks are now narrowing down the search here. But with the search of a coach, the Milwaukee Bucks have got to have a coach that changes the mindset of the Milwaukee Bucks, changes the philosophy, make the culture a little bit more grittier. I always like the story of Pat Riley telling his players about winning. Winning is like breathing. Something like that needs to be said in the locker room of the Milwaukee Bucks, man. Mm-hmm. And for that matter, right now, even the Boston Celtics, because they don't consider winning to be like breathing. But Danny, these Boston Celtics are done. Stick a fork in them. It is over. What say you about these Boston Celtics?
Jason, game 2, Boston was winning in the fourth quarter. And there's now a historic exchange between Grant Williams and Jimmy Butler, where Jimmy Butler proceeded to take their NBA souls, snatched them souls, and proceeded to go ahead and take that victory in Boston, which then carried over to game 3. And Boston just didn't have anything, man, any type of juice, which you look at, we'll see. The series is technically not over yet. It's 3-0, but they're on life support. And you look at, they have all NBA players. They've been together so long. And to see how they performed yesterday was pathetic. you would think they had picked themselves up. Being this close, man, to the NBA Finals, you put in all that work and effort and then to give that type of effort and play in a pivotal game 3, it was tough to watch, man. But Jimmy Butler, he's doing it once again, man. And you can't do nothing but tip your hat to him, man. He is willing that team, and he is playing lights out. And those guys are performing around him. Bam Adebayo's having a good series. So we'll see. They have a game tomorrow night, and we'll see if they get the sweep.
Mm-hmm.
But shame on Boston, man. I know they're talking about, the coach and inspiring the team, but for them to be together as long as they have,
mm-hmm.
it comes to a point where they got to take some accountability as well.
Right.
And they got to put some effort into it and pull it together to try to win this series, knowing what's at stake. Because truth be told, if they lose this series, whether is Jaylen Brown or Tatum, or are they going to split it up?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of questions once this series completes, but right now it's 3-0 and not looking good for Boston.
Just as it is 3-0 in the Eastern Conference, it is the same 3-0 in the Western Conference, and where the Denver Nuggets, they're going for it tonight, Danny. They're going for it tonight. The teams play in LA where the lights are bright. And oh boy, these Denver Nuggets are going for it. This will be the first time that the franchise would advance into the NBA Finals. That's crazy to me, man. But either way you look at it, they're on the verge of history. And so, unlike the Boston Celtics coach, Mike Malone is ferocious. He is grittier. He's infusing the reality of the moment. I remember hearing in the huddle, and he was like, this is game, I think at the time, game number 2 in the Western Conference Finals. He's letting them know, hey, we don't get here that often. You got to make the best of the moment. Mm-hmm. And we're a better team than they are. Let's go. I think you need coaches like that to get in your face. And the things that he said outside, in post game and all that stuff about how Denver is not respected, etc. Hey, man, that's what the team needs. And whatever the team needs, that's what the coach is providing, because they are right now 5 games away from their goal of an NBA championship. So LeBron, AD, this is going to be an interesting game tonight. Do they want to go back to Mile High and play where the lungs going to bust out their chest and stuff like that with that high altitude? Or are they just going to be like, 1, 2, 3 Cancun, 1, 2, 3 LA, we staying home? What say you, Danny, about these LA Lakers?
Jason, watching the game Saturday night, Jokic got into foul trouble, and in the third quarter he had 4 fouls, and LA didn't take advantage. They were down significantly, and they came back and took the lead in the fourth quarter. And if you look at these games, this easily could be 3-0 in their favor, but they did not execute when it was needed, because they had the lead in game 2. They had a game in game 3 in the fourth quarter, and in game 1 they had an opportunity to tie the game in the fourth quarter late. And it's coming down to the bench is not performing. LeBron, has been documented how he's been struggling with his 3-point shooting. He actually hit a couple threes in the fourth quarter on Saturday night. So I thought, I was like, all right, they actually have a chance here because he's actually hitting his shots. But Denver went on one of those runs again, man, in that fourth quarter, and LA just had no answer for him. I believe it was like a 14 or 16-0 run where LA was up 1, and then they got blitzed. So see what happens tonight. D'Angelo Russell is struggling. I think that's part of where they need some contributions from others, and they're just not getting it. So I'm curious to see how they play. Like I said, they've been in every game. It's not like Boston where they just said the heck with it.
Right.
They're right there. Jamal Murray, man, has been playing. He had put 30 up on them in the first half, and they weathered that and almost came back. We'll see what happens in this game 4 and if they get swept or not, or if they're heading back to Mile High to participate in the game 5.
We have an interesting train car scenario. Who we got?
So, Jason, in light of Jimmy Butler's lighting up the Eastern Conference, we have Jimmy Butler's 2012 Panini Hoops rookie card for Latrell Sprewell's 1992 Fleer Ultra rookie card. A couple quick bios. Jimmy Butler went to Marquette University and was drafted by the Chicago Bulls 30th in the 2011 NBA draft. He was 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Defensive Team. He averages 18 points, 5 boards, 4 assists per game. And for Latrell Sprewell, he went to Alabama and was drafted by the Golden State Warriors 24th in the 1992 NBA draft. 4-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA, 1-time All-Defensive Team. Career averages were 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. Jason, who do you want in your portfolio?
Danny, this was a tough one. This was a tough one because we both know about Latrell Sprewell. Sprewell is from the crib. I mean, he's from Milwaukee. Come on, man. He is a very explosive player. Very explosive player. And when he was with the Knicks, he was that slasher for the Knicks. To the point where they were able to get into the finals. And, Latrell did his thing. Unfortunately, whoever you're a fan of, they did not win in the finals. Unfortunately for Latrell, he got a little crazy in him, man. And unfortunately for him, he's always going to be known as the guy who had choked out a coach in Golden State, PJ Carlesimo. I compare that to the likes of Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy Bucket, Jimmy freaking Butler. So you have those nicknames versus Latrell Sprewell in his act of choking out PJ Carlesimo and getting suspended for a lot of games. I could tell the story with this card about Jimmy Butler and what he has done in the bubble and where he has beat out the Milwaukee Bucks in the bubble and outside of the bubble beat out the Milwaukee Bucks when the Bucks were favored to win. And not only that, they were the number 1 seed. So let's think about what Jimmy Butler has done in this particular playoff run. He beat out not only the number 1 seed in the NBA, but basically on the verge of sending the number 2 seed in the NBA home, possibly in a sweep. I could say a lot about that card, and you can even tell the story to children about perseverance, about grit and grind, about a culture, an organization's culture, and the mindset that you have to have in order to win. I can't say that about this card with Latrell Sprewell choking out PJ Carlesimo, your coach. Even though after he did that, he did persevere and he did play with the New York Knicks to go to the NBA Finals. It would have been a better story if he would have won, but they didn't. So with that, Danny, I'm going to have to say this. It was harder for Latrell Sprewell to make it to the NBA Finals back then, especially in the NBA, with all the rules, the hand checking, whatever the case may be, it's just more physical. And oh, by the way, he was on a physical team with the New York Knicks. Harder to go through that than it is for Jimmy Butler possibly to go through the gauntlet that he had with the number 1 and number 2 seed. But by them progressing, Jimmy Butler and Miami Heat progressing through playoffs this year confirms what they had in the bubble. So with that, man, I'm gonna have to go with Jimmy Butler. Earlier in the show, I said that it was going to be Denver and Miami in the finals. I do have Denver winning the championship in 4 games. I think it might be a sweep, 4, maybe 5 games. I don't see Miami really kind of, doing much in the finals. And unfortunately, that's not going to, have the story culminate into this grandiose story of, Miami winning the championship. But you still can tell the story about grit and grind and the Heat culture. What say you, Danny?
I agree, Jay. This one was tough, man. I just think back to Latrell, and if that did not happen with him, the whole incident with PJ Carlissimo, how may have that changed his career and his trajectory and just everything around him? Mm-hmm. Because you remember too, he played with the T-Wolves, and they made a run. They ran to the Lakers, but he was on that team with KG. And, if they make it to the finals, it could have been, helped his overall career. But people, if you have not seen Latrell Sprewell play, please check out some highlights, because he used to get, man, watching him play and the way he used to dunk the ball.
Oh. He was angry at the rim, man.
Yeah. And it wasn't like he was just dunking. He could hoop. Latrell could have been a lot better, but that whole incident just messed everything up for him, which if I look at the card, that's a key consideration for me and why I would take Jimmy Butler's card, even though Jimmy Butler has had his issues, Minnesota, for example, but it was more, the team wasn't playing up to his expectations. He had a young team and he was trying to influence them. And Jimmy Butler is more that old school mentality when we're growing up, that thought process where he's like, come on now. I'm putting in the work. Y'all putting in the work too? I'm the veteran and I'm putting in the work. You're the young guys. You should be doing it more than me. So he left there. He went to Philly. And which I think Philadelphia is still kicking themselves for that. And then that's where he blazed his own trail in Miami. And with that, I'm going to take his card. But I will say, though, on the offensive end, Latrell Sprewell, I think was more explosive. I think he was a better offensive player. On the defensive end, that's where Jimmy Butler has the edge. Latrell could play some defense too now. I know he only got one all-defensive team, but he can play some D. But Jimmy Butler, that's his game. And when he came through Chicago, that was the focus when he came out of Marquette. Defensive-minded, and his offensive game evolved. And he's continued to evolve his game to the point where he is now. And he's carrying a team that, truth be told, was given no chance when the playoffs started. And now look where they're at. So all in all, I'm going to take his card. But that Latrell, like I said, man, one mess up cost him from being here to up here.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.